Oh, Latin dancing, darling. It reminds me of the fact that when I get into my holiday time, I want to try new things. And Latin dancing might just be one of them. I'm going to go for some lessons or something like that. But with us going into the holiday, it also means so much for our consumers. Why? Because it means more spending. So many consumers are rushing to sites and shops and all these different things. And they're 100% getting into what they call the absolute part of the best, which is festive season and those Black Friday deals, all of those different things that allow us to really just enjoy ourselves when it comes to the money that we've worked hard for during the year. But with more spending comes heightened risk. And right about now, I'm so excited for us to welcome to the couch today. It is our ABSA family, Ulrich Jansa van Rensburg. He's someone who's going to help us out a little bit because he is the Chief Fraud Strategy and Analytics Officer at ABSA. And today we get to have a young conversation, rather, about how we can in fact keep ourselves safe this festive season. So Ulrich, how are you?
Fine yourself.
Amazing, thank you. Ulrich, I'm just so excited to jump on into this conversation because I want us to be safe. You know, there's so many different scams that are out there right now. So many people who are even sharing stories, sadly, at the moment. And I'll get to that. However, I've heard of these terms, vishing, pishing, as well as smishing. They're words that surface, you know, when we're talking about, you know, the different ways of social engineering, when we mention it every now and again. But I want to understand, you know, what is social engineering and how do we as people possibly keep ourselves, you know, safe or abreast with what we need to know?
Perfect. So social engineering is something that comes from the biblical times already.
Okay.
So it's an ability to manipulate someone's perception of what they see and what they experience.
Sure.
Fraudsters would use that to manipulate an individual to recognize the truth, the real thing. And they'll do that by misrepresenting the information that you see as a consumer.
Oh, wow.
Whether that's through an email, whether that's through a call. And we always say fraud, social engineering happens in 3 stages. The first one is they'll create panic, then they'll create trust, and then they'll ask for your cooperation to support you. If we break it down a bit, you get phishing. Typically, someone who angles, who goes for phishing and they throw a couple of emails out, and they need you to respond. But they'll represent it as something that looks like an ABSA email.
Yes.
And in that, there may be a hyperlink in it. You need to click on that hyperlink, and then it takes you to what you think is the ABSA website or online banking. But in fact, it is not. It's it's a false site that looks and feels like it.
Sure.
You get vishing. That's a phone call that you get from someone. They misrepresent themselves, say, I'm from ABSA, I want to help you, I want to protect you from fraud. I need you to cooperate and I need you to do A, B, and C. And then consumers may fall victim to that. And then you get things like smishing. That's where you get that SMS that says, you've just purchased X, Y, and Z on this particular website. Is this fraud? If not, phone this number. That number in that SMS is not an ABSA number.
Oh, my word.
That is a false number, so that you get through to a call center where they get ready to manipulate you.
I've heard about the 2 that you mentioned first.
Yeah.
Smishing, I've never heard about. I never knew that was, you know, I mean, I always just ignore those SMSs because I ignore everything. But when it comes to that, that's absolutely scary.
Yeah.
So now, this is why we're having this chat with you, because I genuinely feel like so many of us are sadly not in the know, right? Especially when it comes to things like online banking, even cell phone banking, and so much more. We trust these websites, we trust the apps and everything, but how can we make sure that our devices are actually secure?
So your devices are secure, provided that you don't click on anything, right? 2 things. When you focus on online shopping, don't click on any website.
Yes.
Make sure that you understand where you go. But let's focus on the mobile phone because it's a very topical issue these days. Consumers are concerned that their devices are not safe.
Yeah.
We've seen recent media around stolen devices, etc. What is critical in that is make sure that the consumer understands his device security. So don't type in don't type in sequence passcodes. Don't use the same passcode on your bank app than you use on your device itself.
Sure.
There's lots of consumers out there who's using the same number. If they can get into your phone, they can then get into your
Banking app, yeah.
Use your biometric service. Make sure that you use your biometric service, activate that, access your bank's services through that.
Yes.
And then when you go onto, especially e-commerce, festive season, when you go onto e-commerce sites, make sure you understand the environment that you're moving around.
Yeah.
It's a digital environment, right? Make sure you understand the surroundings. You don't have the luxury of scouting the environment that you're walking into, like in a physical world.
Yeah.
So make sure you understand where you go, how you got there, were you lured into that space,
Yeah.
or did you make that decision at the end of the day?
Sure. I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I feel like so much of the fraud that we sometimes read about is actually happening to the people around us now and even to ourselves. So I have a friend where they pretty much were selling something. They got a proof of payment and everything. Next thing, the money was just not there and they had already given the goods. So now this is why I need to ask, how can we actually allow ourselves to be as safe as possible when it comes to something like, exchanging goods for money or even, sadly, sometimes it happens that people exchange money for goods that just never arrive.
Yes.
Yeah, how can we be safe in that space?
So make sure that, again, it comes back to being savvy. Focus on what are you trying to buy?
Yes.
Is the deal too good to be true? If it is, go and find comparative prices out there.
Okay.
If it's too good to be true, it's probably fraud,
Sure.
right? But when you go to websites or online marketplaces, you get a lot of social media marketplaces these days. Make sure that you research a bit. Go and find the individual who's selling it. Go and find a website that's selling goods and services. Go to Google and research. See if there's if there's bad reviews of the party.
Yeah.
When you deliver goods, make sure that the funds reflect in your account. Don't hand over goods if it's not reflecting in your account. We have pay shop these days.
Yeah.
If goods are sold below a specific amount, you can get your money immediately. So rather get that moved and then hand over your goods.
Sure. Ulrich, I feel like you genuinely have come with so much enlightenment. Thank you so much, especially going into this crazy season. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. It is our ABSA family helping us keep safe this festive season. And my friend, we all need it. The fraudsters, they are out there. It's terrible. But there are ways that we can take our own steps and allow ourselves to be a little bit safer when we are actually engaging in all of these transactions and everything else in between. As we wrap it up, it's clear that November, my friend, does indeed come with so many different things, particularly those Black Friday deals. But staying vigilant against fraud is 100% essential. So a big thank you to our ABSA family and, of course, Ulrich for coming through and allowing us to be, like I said, more enlightened and more in the know of what it is when we talk about being safe online and with everything else that comes up. Let's prioritize our financial safety this festive season. And more than anything else, make sure that we are indeed enjoying our shopping experiences.
There are stories of strivers, and we're inspired by them all. We invite you to write your story with us. Your story matters. ABSA.